Thank you all for taking the time out of your day to come to this info session. This is going to be giving a good overview of our prep programs. My name is Hector. I'm the prep program coordinator. So you can ask me anything about our admissions processes for JavaScript for beginners and CS prep. I work with both. Fun fact about me, I'm a dancer. I primarily dance Latin dance and hip hop. And if you do want to contact me personally, you can use my personal Codesmith email, hector.torres@codesmith.io. Or if you also have specific questions about JSB or CS prep, you can reach out to those inboxes and I'll be in those as well. Cool. So again, what we're covering today, we're just going to be covering our approach here at Codesmith and how we do things here for prep programs. I'm going to introduce you to some of our instructors. I'm going to touch a little bit on the online learning experience because I know that not everyone is used to it or has been exposed to it. So I'll give some details on that. And then I'll also give an overview on each of our prep programs, which we have two at the moment, JavaScript for beginners and CS prep. And then I'll talk about the transition from the prep programs to the software engineering immersive. Cool. So here's our approach to teaching, sort of like our 5 key takeaways for teaching. One is, of course, our highly interactive lectures and diagramming. Since we are in an online virtual space, we are very cognizant of the fact that a lot of times on online learning spaces, things can be really lecture heavy, just talking at you. So here at Codesmith, we really like to make sure that all of our lectures are interactive. And so we do a lot of diagramming. We use Zoom, of course, to be able to like share screens, have other people share the screens, and we'll go diagram through a problem step by step with your instructor. And also they'll probably be asking you how to do certain steps. Might ask you to diagram yourself to make sure that, things are interactive and you're not just being spoken at. Another addition to that is pair programming. If you haven't heard of pair programming yet, it's something we do at Codesmith that's really important, and you'll do in all of our programs, even through the software engineering immersive, where one person is a navigator and the other person is a driver. And essentially, you're going to split up the roles where the navigator is strictly speaking the steps of the code to the driver who's at the keyboard. So the driver will strictly be typing the code into the bin, and the navigator is strictly speaking. And that is particularly to work on your technical communication. So as the driver, you have to know how to hear someone say something and know exactly what they mean and type it into the code. As a navigator, you have to be able to take those concepts that you might have to a certain approach to a problem and be able to verbally speak it clearly and detailed enough to where the driver can hear it and say okay, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm going to type it in. So you'll do that in our prep programs at the end of every session. And also for both JSB and CS prep, you do have group projects. We do want you to have some experience just building something from the ground up. And so for both JSB and CS prep at the end, we'll put you into groups and you'll be able to work on a project. And then the Monday after, or the last Monday of the course for both, you'll be able to present your project with your group to everyone else. 3 is live coding by instructor. What we mean by this is our instructors are real-time software engineers. And so that is a real privilege to have, especially as your instructor. And what's really, I think, cool just about having them as instructors is that they'll give you a real deep dive into their approaches. So as you may know, in software engineering, there's not only one approach to any challenge. You can always do a bunch of approaches. But with your instructor, you'll be able to get a good deep dive into their approach and how they do things and go step by step, which I think is just a really valuable learning experience. You also get individual coding challenges. So outside of your lecture time, outside of your scheduled class time, you'll always have challenges to work on your own, depending that is on the content that you just recently covered. Just make sure that you can keep up with it, as well as CSX, that'll always be there as well. Lastly, you do have a final assessment for both JSB and CS prep. And I think that these are just really good checkpoints, good temperature checks for at the end of these courses to see not only have you absorbed the content, but can you use it in a different situation? Can you see a challenge and know what concepts to use? So I think they're really good tests. And they are graded by prep program mentors, which are also real-time software engineers. So they're also really good opportunities to just have someone who's a real-time software engineer look at your code. Even if you got the challenges right, if they have some feedback based on your formatting and just your practices, they also like to communicate that there as well. So I think they're just really good points to make sure that you're on the right track and you're ready to go to the next step. So from JSB to CS prep, and from CS prep to the immersive. And here's just a glimpse at some of your instructors for the prep program. So you'll see under their name, whether they're CS prep or JavaScript for Beginner instructor. Again, like I keep mentioning, these are real-time software engineers. They have lots of experience. There are a lot of different sectors within tech that they work in. So I always recommend to people, like, your cohort is going to be capped at like 30, 32 people. So you do have the opportunity to foster a relationship with them, get to know them, ask them all the questions that you might have. They bring a lot of experience with them. So I think they're just really valuable resources to you as well, as you keep going through the Codesmith process, because you can always keep in touch with them. Cool. And so the online experience, we do primarily use Zoom and Slack. All of our programs are virtual, except for the Immersive program. The New York onsite is in New York City. That is our only in-person offering right now. Everything else will be virtual. And if you haven't been in an online virtual experience before, that's totally okay. We like to make sure that everyone's ready to go, prepared. Any questions you might have, we'll answer them. But we use Zoom primarily for our lectures. We like Zoom just because, it's really easy, can hold a lot of people. You also get to share your screen. So like I said, those interactive lectures, your instructor might ask you like, hey, can you live code through this and just talk through it? Or they'll be sharing their screen and they'll want you to technically communicate through it. They also love to just whiteboard out problems. So instead of just speaking through a problem, you'll go step by step, log like the execution context, everything will be visible to everybody, just because that's also like a good addition to just have that visual. And we also love to use the breakout rooms in Zoom just for pairing, for pair programming. Like I said, at the end of every lecture, usually you'll be pair programming. So we'll break you off. Your instructor will go into those rooms, make sure that everything's going okay. And we do use Slack primarily for our courses. In your Slack workspace, you'll have your own workspace for your cohort. So like I said, there'll be 30 to 32 people. That'll be your cohort. You'll be in your own workspace. That's where you're basically going to have all of our announcements, all of your homework problems, those practice problems. You'll have channels to pair program, to post some videos. And you'll also be able to communicate with the instructor and me. I'll be in there as your program coordinator, as well as your other classmates. So these cohort workspaces, I've seen have been really productive. A lot of people use them to just share a bunch of resources, share what they have found helpful. And these will stay active after the course ends for like a couple of weeks still. I think maybe up to 2 to 3 months they'll be active. And I've just seen people like share a bunch of resources, new resources they found. They'll share a little bit about like, I'm in this point of the admissions process. So we really just like to foster that community with Zoom and Slack to make sure that outside of the course time when you're just in lecture, that you can also communicate with your cohort mates to make sure that you're all on the right track, you're helping each other out, etc. Cool. So that's just like the overview. Now I'll just jump into our program. So our first prep program is JavaScript for Beginners, or as you'll more commonly hear it referred to, just JSB. This is our first prep program, your first 12-hour introductory course into coding. This will cover from a CSX, if you're familiar with it, our free online learning platform. That's our like main resource for preparing for the immersive. This will cover pre-course part 1 up to functions and execution context, and a little bit of callbacks and higher order functions. You'll learn how programming can be applied in real life. So you'll learn really just like the basics of JavaScript, and you'll cover those fundamentals, how programming works under the hood, how that works on like websites, etc. You'll still relieve the live online instruction, you'll pair program, and like I said before, you'll build your project. And this is just really a good stepping stone for anyone who like is just starting out their tech journey. Maybe you're trying to see if this is a right fit for you. This is really the program for you. It'll take place over 2 Saturdays, so 2 consecutive Saturdays. It'll be 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific time or 12 to 6 Eastern time. Over those 2 Saturdays, and then again on that last Monday, you'll have your group project. And you can see like each day you'll cover around 3 topics. So this is really more introductory to make sure that you have your foundations laid out and that you understand how the web works, like the bare bones. So day 1, variables, primitive data types, loops, control flow, etc. Day 2, you'll dive in a little more into how the web works. You'll get into that functions and execution context unit, start building out your own functions. And you also get your introduction into the project. And then, of course, you'll have from that Saturday up until that Monday night to both submit your assessment and to finish your group project and present it. Cool. So from then on, if you've finished JSB, you can move on to CS Prep. You don't have to take JSB. If you want to start at CS Prep, that's also an option. But in our order of like programs, CS Prep is your second prep program. This program also takes place over 2 weeks, and it's a part-time program, again, completely online like JSB. This is a little bit more intermediate. So the starting point for CSX will be around callbacks and higher order functions. And you'll really go through the rest of CSX up through OOP, which is what you're assessed on in your technical interview for the immersive program. So this is a really good program. If you maybe have gotten your basics down already through function and execution context, and you really want to get into those more intermediate units and get ready for the technical interview, then this is really the program for you as well. You'll cover those intermediate JavaScript concepts, so like recursion, object-oriented programming, callbacks and higher order functions, closure, etc. You also get a little bit more into your engineering best practices. This course is over 2 weeks, but as you'll see on the next slide, it'll take up more time because it is more intermediate and advanced. So we do want to make sure that you are allocating a good amount of hours to taking in that information. You also learn a lot more about your problem solving skills and practice your technical communication a lot more, again, because of that more packed schedule. This will sort of start to match the pace of the immersive a little bit more in terms of the content and the speed. You'll have live online instruction again, those daily coding challenges, you'll per program, do your group project, all that jazz. And this will really help you prepare you for Codesmith's immersive program and that admissions process as well. So again, those who should take CS Prep are those preparing for the our Codesmith immersive program. Those who also want to just go deeper into JavaScript, be better problem solvers, this is really the great course for you because you will be giving a lot of those challenges that you maybe haven't seen before. They'll be more advanced, and you'll also be put into the situation where we want you to technically communicate through it. So you really start to develop all of these skills at the same time and sort of match, again, that pace of the immersive. Also, those who like more structured learning environment, you don't have to take JSB or CS Prep to get into the immersive. They also don't guarantee you acceptance into the immersive. If you're not going to take our prep programs, we recommend completing CSX on your own all the way through object-oriented programming. But for those who want a more structured learning environment and who actually want, the instruction, you want practice problems, you want to be able to pair program with the same people, start to build that community as you're preparing for the immersive program, then these are really the programs for you. And yeah, so those who are just ready to take their fundamental JavaScript learning to the next level, move on from the online tutorials and start to really implement what you've learned. This is also a great course for you. So here's our CS Prep start time. So our CS Prep cohorts, they alternate on Eastern time and Pacific time. And they'll start at 6:30 p.m. in each time zone. And like I said before, they'll alternate between the two. I do recommend if you do have a certain cohort or a certain time that you're aiming for to just get your application in early. That way you can just be considered for that cohort before those applications close. And like I mentioned before, the schedule is a little bit more packed, a little longer per week. It still takes place, as you can see, over the 2 weeks. But instead of just 2 Saturdays and then that Monday for your presentations, the schedule per week will be Monday through Wednesday, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And then also Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 12 to 6, depending on your time zone, of course. And as you can also see on here, each sort of day will have less topics because you will be diving into it a lot more. So JSB sort of cover a wide breadth of topics. For CS Prep, each day of your class, we'll go more into one topic and just go really deep into it. So you can see like objects and arrays, callbacks, higher order functions, then you'll start to get into those more advanced topics, OOP, recursion, algorithms, closures, etc. That second Saturday, again, you'll introduce your group project. You also have the assessment, and you'll have until same thing as JSB, Monday night, Monday at 6:30 p.m. to finish your group project, and then you'll have Monday midnight to submit your assessment. Cool. So now here's just like the general. I know I threw a lot of information at you, but again, just for the general order of things, if you do want to take our prep programs, have that structured learning environment as you prepare for the immersive, you first sign up for JSB. Again, JSB, if you're like in the pre-course part 1, part 2 area, that's the place for you. Or if you're just really starting out, want to see if software engineering is right for you, then you would move on to CS Prep, CSX bar being around callbacks and higher order functions or anywhere ahead of that. And then after then, you'd be able to move on to the software engineering immersive. And here's our admissions process for each of our prep programs. So for JavaScript for beginners, you'll submit your online application, just has a short essay question, optional coding challenge. If your application is admitted, then you'll receive your acceptance. You'll be able to save your seat by paying off your invoice. For CS Prep, there's an extra step in between those two. So again, submit your online application. If your application is accepted, you'll be invited to a phone screen. This phone screen will be like 15, 20 minutes. We'll just be asking questions about like your background, why you want to take CS Prep. And then you'll also be asked some conceptual technical questions, but this won't be like a full out technical interview. That is reserved for the immersive programs admissions process. So yeah, once you complete your phone screen, if you are accepted, you'll receive your decision. And again, you'll be able to confirm your spot by paying off the invoice that you receive upon acceptance. Cool, so tuition and scholarships. So JavaScript for beginners, our tuition is $350. I'll explain this rollover tuition in a little bit. It's easier to explain after CS Prep. So the tuition for CS Prep is $925. That includes the $350. So from the rollover, what this means is your JSB tuition rolls over into CS Prep. So $925 is the price for JSB and CS Prep together. So if you first take JSB, you just want to start off from the beginning, take JSB, $350, you pay your $350, confirm your spot. And then if you want to move to CS Prep, then to confirm your spot in CS Prep, it'll only be $575. It'll be the difference between $925 and the $350 that you've already paid. And this total tuition, your $925 for both JSB and CS Prep, that'll all roll over to your immersive program tuition. So if you complete our prep programs, you pay the $925, you are in your application admissions process for the immersive program and you are accepted to the immersive program, then instantly the $925 you paid is deducted from your immersive program tuition. So if you are set on taking the immersive program, you can really think of this tuition you're paying for prep programs as just like a long-term investment, because eventually when you're accepted to the immersive, that'll already be deducted from your tuition. And we do have scholarships available for JSB and CS Prep. Those are offered on a case-by-case basis. So if you are interested in that, please reach out to the emails associated with each program. If you're interested in that, reach out once you are accepted into each program, but please hold off on paying your invoice if you are interested in financial assistance. Cool. Yeah, so I've mentioned these throughout. CSX is our main online resource. It's free, completely free, our main online learning platform. If you do want to prepare for the immersive, this is going to be your go-to because we want to make sure that you can cover all the challenges within the units in here. There's hundreds of hours of video lessons and challenges. You'll also get that world-class community of developers. If you haven't joined our CSX Slack channel, you can reach out to me at JSB, at JS for Beginners at Codesmith.io or CSPrep at Codesmith.io, and I'll be able to add you into there. It's just our community of everyone. So applicants, accepted applicants, alumni, everyone's in there. It's a really great community, lots of resources, lots of practice, mock technical interviews, all of that jazz. But CSX is our main online learning platform. And this is what our prep program is going to cover. I'll say it again, JSB will cover pre-course part 1 up to functions and execution context. CS Prep covers callbacks and hierarchy functions all the way to the end of CSX. And yeah, also our free JavaScript workshops. I do recommend, if you want to get a glimpse into our teaching style, to go to our free workshops. All of our workshops are free. You can find them on our page. You can go to our website, go to events, they'll all be there. We do have different levels. So if you're more on the intro side, we have our Intro to JavaScript series. That'll cover, again, those first few units. If you're more into our intermediate or advanced side of CSX, we do have JavaScript, the hard parts, which cover those units specifically. And these are live lectures. You can pair program through challenges. I recommend going to these if you want to get a glimpse to our teaching style, make sure that the Codesmith style is right for you. And also, if you have any questions, you do get the opportunity to ask the workshop instructors. And our workshop instructors are also our instructors for the Codesmith Software Engineering Immersive. So you also get to see like a direct glimpse into how this content is taught by your potential instructors in the future.